Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. Glad you're here with me. It's good to see people. Let me throw out TR Hi Otto and Elaine. Boondocks, hey, welcome. Welcome, Elaine and Nina. I've got Canadian, American Mark. Hey, Mark. This is great. I saw Singing Way was here. Yep. Okay, well, we're going to get started. And this morning, I I didn't take my neck brace off. I work with one and my back brace. But I'm just leaving it on today because I hurt. Good morning, Alan. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, everybody. Alex, Thomas. Yeah. So we're gonna do a show. I'm in my pajamas. Trust me, this is pajamas. I just put a. It's got cold, and all of a sudden it's going to now snow again. All right, so stay with me here. I've got a pretty big show while you all join, and I have a lot of a lot of things I want to talk about. But I'm going to start out. I pretty much want to start out with a few things to show you what's going on with my place. So, because it kind of is, it's kind of, I mean, it is the world is falling apart. So is my place. So let me show you first the shed. What happened to this is all the way in back. I don't know if you remember my show or my video where I was talking about wearing the tinfoil hat and that if these monsters take away Social Security, I'm going to be living in the shed in the back of my property and renting out the house. Well, guess what? We had a pretty big storm a couple weeks ago, and there's the shed I was gonna live in. My new house. Yay! Oh, shit. So, with so many other things that are blown down here, the shed, there goes the shed. All right. So, but what's my point? Well, my point is no, it's great. It's fine. It was a piece of shit. But the best part is that now, uh, um, let me see. Now all the roofing, and I had extra roofing from my house, is now on my woodshed. So now both sides from that thing falling down comes here. No. It's good news. It's using and repurposing and reusing everything that you have. So now both sides, see how both right there, you can see how both sides, that's my garbage shed, but you can see how both sides are covered now because Caleb came. Yes, I paid him. Yes, I'm broke, but I reuse everything. So I just thought I would show you that because for all the shit that happens, you can reuse all this stuff if you have somebody to help you because I can't do it myself. I can't do those kinds of things like I used to do. I could help, but anyway. So just to show you, we've had some crazy ass weather, but up here where I am, we're on the tip. And I know I see a lot of you talking about Mississippi. I know all of it. We might even get there. I hope. I have a busy show. Wanted to show you though that everything can be reused and repurposed, but the humorous part was I guess I'm not going to have to live in the shed or I'm not going to be able to live in the shed because it blew down. All right, so you're all joining and that's good. That's good. So let me start out with a little bit about what happened with the hands off. I went to my little town, and my little town looked like this. Okay. And which is pretty cool for a tiny red area. I mean, it was even more people than this. And we're going to go into this because I have a lot of topics, but I want you to look at this picture of all these people that came out in this red town. And let me tell you, there were a lot of honks in the affirmative, which was a lot different in 2016 when I was on that same corner with a lot less people with Bernie signs. And we got assaulted by all kinds of people that came by. It was awful. So I thought I would show you that's where I went. Little place, little town, little town. So I want to talk about the hands down. I've got things I want to look at talk about with you why hands down and what is hands down. You want to know what hands down is? Hands down is the silent majority. We have been in the United States, okay? We have been the silent majority because how many years have we seen nothing but red MAGA hats, MAGA, building from all of the shit that was starting on social media. The, what is it? Pizzagate. And then that went to QAnon, and MAGA really blew up out of that whole movement, out of that whole time. But MAGA has been loud and proud. And guess what? These people in this small little town, this is the silent majority. It is, you're goddamn right, it's the silent majority. And while I had a million things I was going to start out with, I think I'm going to start out with history. And hang on, because I'm going to play this. We're going to watch this. We'll start with this.
200 years ago, this nation was weak and poor. But even then, America was the hope of millions in the world. Today, we have become the strongest and richest nation in the world. And the wheel of destiny has turned so that any hope the world has for the survival of peace and freedom will be determined by whether the American people have the moral stamina and the courage to meet the challenge of free world leadership. Let historians not record that when America was the most powerful nation in the world, we passed on the other side of the road and allowed the last hopes for peace and freedom of millions of people to be suffocated by the forces of totalitarianism. And so tonight, to you, the great silent majority of my fellow Americans,
and that's
I ask for your
us.
support. I pledged in my campaign for the presidency to end the war in a way that we could win the peace. I have initiated a plan of action which will enable me to keep that pledge. The more support I can have from the American people, the sooner that pledge can be redeemed. For the more divided we are at home, the less likely the enemy is to negotiate at Paris. Let us be united for peace. Let us also be united against defeat. Because let us understand, North Vietnam cannot defeat or humiliate the United States. Only Americans can do that.
Okay, so there you go. But when you listen to history and you think about Richard Nixon and who he was talking to, calling the silent majority, it was the middle class that existed at the time. It was the conservatives. It was Republicans. He was a Republican, but everybody wanted to end the war. And this was in response to all of the protests that happened. But if you think about the history and you think about the noisiness around the orange turd and MAGA, and you think about somebody like me or all the people I showed you that went out yesterday, millions of people around the United States went out, people that you wouldn't expect, and some comments. I read a comment, and this one I wanted to talk to you about. I slept on this one. Really thinking about this. Somebody made a comment to something I saw out there. And it was about, oh, look at all the white faces in these crowds. Okay? They wanted to try to stir up some shit. So I want to answer that. Look at the white faces in this crowd, the silent majority. However, what is occurring right now due to the Orange Turds administration? Think about it. What's occurring? I'm going to show you. I think. Hang on. I'm going to set something up because I'm going to show this to you. This is what's occurring. scary. So, to answer that question to that person, why are more brown faces not front and center at the protests? I don't know. I didn't look at all the videos from every city, but that was the comment I was reacting to. I showed that video because this is what's going on and this is what people are hearing. Who may not be, people are afraid to respond. So if people are afraid of that, because this is what they see happening, and they happen to be a brown skinned person, a darker color person, we've got your back and we will fight for immigration rights. We will fight for all that stuff. And we're going to move on because, I mean, I understand this in that. And I'm just saying we have your back. You can't make it. We all have your back. The silent majority has your back. We have no choice. It's all scary. You know, even now, Canada is saying to Canadian citizens that have to come over the bridge to come into like Buffalo or anywhere on the borders to bring a burner phone. Don't bring your own phone. I didn't even bring my phone yesterday, so I had none of my original. I have no original pictures, but I did not bring a phone. So it's getting pretty scary out there. So if anybody wants to say, why are there no, you know, why do we see a lot of, and older faces? There was another commentator who said, well, it looks like they emptied the nursing homes there, you know, right-wing people. And then they had in their profile their grandparent. But why are they emptying the nursing homes? And what's really funny is that this grandparent, like, they're emptying the nursing homes because we are losing, or our rights are being assaulted. People are terrified of losing these things that we've had in our country. Social security is a big thing. Education. The people I saw yesterday had signs that were a cadre of different kinds of signs. They were Save the Forest Service, a lot of science things, a lot of anti-Musk, a lot that were saying, at least where I am, against our congressperson, Nick Langworthy, because he's horrible. He doesn't show up. There are people where I live that are going to his office, his local office, every weekend. He's never there. Or maybe it's every Monday, whatever. It's a group of people doing that. The silent majority is speaking up. Hey, it took this. Certainly isn't the climate crisis. And we're going to go into that. But the silent majority, we are the silent majority in the United States. We are not MAGA. We live our lives. Maybe some of us make more noise than others. But we are the silent majority. And we are people don't want what's happening here in the United States. There were hands-off rallies all over the world. Nobody likes what's happening. The tariffs are ridiculous. They're not even done correctly. I'm not an economist, so I absolutely am not going to make a lot of commentary on that particular topic, although I do have commentary. A lot of it. Let me see which one this was. Oh, no, that's later. Okay. Anyway, so think about all this stuff. Really, really, really think about it. And I'm going to read a piece. I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to read about it. And I have it. I put it together. The first part, and I took up, I don't have my references, but it's put together. It's not AI or anything. What happens to a democracy when people stop talking to one another about what matters to them and the country? When people are afraid to speak their minds because they fear the personal blowback likely to come their way? Or worse, when they come to believe that their concerns, their views, and their values just don't matter to anyone anymore, and so they turn off and tune out, to quote an old line? What happens? That's when democracy dies. Not necessarily in darkness, but in silence. And we are waking up, people are waking up in the United States because Citizens United, which was one of the death knells in our country, in the United States, it was, yes, things started with the Reagan administration and rugged individualism and all that horseshit. But it was really Citizens United that was the death knell when the Supreme Court ruled that corporations could potentially just buy politicians, like you see what Elon Musk did. So that was a lot of the hands-off thing, was Elon Musk, the orange turd, all of the things that were happening, but the silent majority turned out to talk about this. And maybe it didn't have one specific thing. It was hands off our democracy. And I was the only one that brought a megaphone because I'm a seasoned I partake in protest. So I was the only one, but there were younger people there, and it was great. I gave the megaphone over, and so it really brought life into the old scene because, a lot of us here are older than 60. So the younger people brought in and they ran around, and this is what democracy looks like. And it made you feel good, really did make you feel good. And let me tell you a quick story about one of the women. One of the women had a sign about protecting forests and wildlife, and I talked to her about it because I liked it. Well, it seems this is wild. Her son worked for the federal government. He left 6 years ago. He was in forestry management. He was with the department, I think it was what Lyle Lewis is in, the Department of the Interior. He left 6 years ago and took a job with New York State, DEC, right? He checks his email, which he's had for a while, the other day, and he gets a form letter from the United States government, Bureau of Land Management, or whoever he was with, a form letter 6 years after he left the United States government that terminated his employment due to poor performance. I mean, this is how unprofessional Doge is. And they want to touch our Social Security, and they're letting him into all these sensitive offices. They're letting him in his group of not professional, in my opinion, and they sent a form letter out to just everybody in the database for poor performance when that was all bullshit. All bullshit. And that was really interesting to me because I've railed about this, being the HR person that I was, understanding reduction in forces and all the things. They sent out a fucking letter to a guy that was gone 6 years ago. Same form letter. So, we're just so screwed up. And I thought that was interesting, And let me tell you, yesterday was rainy and gross, but I wore my Harley. I used to be a Harley rider, so I wore my rain suit. Hey, it was great. I'm so glad I kept it. So anyway, okay. Let me see where we're going from here. I know I'm going slow. I have a lot of stuff. I do. I really do. I usually do. I didn't even prepare till this morning. Hi, Tony Davis. I did not prepare till this morning. I didn't even set it up last night. So we looked at the awful video of the chains, understanding why the crowds look like they do, the silent majority, but we have your back. Okay. So here's another one I'm going to show you before we move over into, I have to get better with this, changing the videos. So there was really very little violence that was reported. But there's little snippets that are coming out. But I want you to watch this one because this is the kind of shit. Those people coming out of that car and arguing, they're not really the silent majority. They are the MAGA majority or minority, the MAGA minority, and they're crazy in a way. They think that they are the patriotic Americans when they are not the patriotic Americans. They think they are because I don't think they understand patriotism. So we're going to play this one.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Everybody that way! 911! 911! 911! 911! 911! You jumped out of your car, please. You're blocking the traffic. No, he's gonna take off. He's gonna try to go.
So if he was driving with it's a semi-automatic. I don't know if it was an AR. It's a semi-automatic, but if he was driving with that, obviously he was driving through to start some shit with the silent majority who are finally coming out to be overheard or heard or whatever. I don't know, the media. That was a thing that pissed us off too, because last night MSNBC, CNN, they had nothing. So I hoped that, I don't watch that network TV, but I hope that they showed something, because this is not going to stop. If the fascists in the White House decide to stop it, they probably could. But there were a lot of cops around and a lot of honks and a lot of positive things. And there was only, where I am, there was one counter protester, this guy, old guy with a American flag screaming about immigration. That's all. One counter protest. You know what, honey, I don't know where it was. I clip things so fast. I'd have to go back on X. I'll take some time later and I'll put all the links in. I just didn't do it first because I was late. So yeah, so that was like about the only violence I saw online. But again, I haven't been online that much, really, just to get ready this morning. Well, I had asked the question, did mainstream news outlets cover the protests? Last night when I went to bed, there was nothing on MSNBC's YouTube. There was nothing on TYT's YouTube. I mean, there was nothing. So either they're late to the game. Status Quo covered it, but the mainstream networks, I think they're really trying to shove it under the rug. Remember, even MSNBC, they're all owned by these corporate masters. Yeah, they are. They're owned by oligarchs. So our media is not free and fair. Only on YouTube. I don't even think Rumble is free and fair. Trust me. Rumble ain't free and fair. So yeah, that's thanks, Boondocks, for asking. Okay. I'm going to go to the other. Oops. Wait, let me take that off. That was his. Nope. Okay. I'm going to go to the other screen, if you don't mind. Like I said, I am very notchy today. Really notchy today. I'm not moving fast. Everything hurts. It's also cold and snowy and shitty. All right. I have to do a story that made me laugh. We have to laugh for the morning. Please, please let me laugh. Because if you know about Florida, you know how Florida is so pathetic. And over the MAGA term, you see a lot of Floridians with boats and hats, MAGA hats, and all of the gear. You know, Florida has turned conservative. Ron DeSanctimonious is the governor. Well, I think that this is great because all of the coverage of this retirement place, which was an ecological nightmare in Florida, they just basically, these developers, because it's all developers in Florida, there will not be anything natural left. And then the big hurricane will knock half of Florida off anyway. But these people, they took a lot of land. I mean, this is a town, okay? Destroyed it, built this town, old people, older people. I should say that's probably my age people there. But Trump's stronghold, the Villages in Florida, holds large hands-off rally, which I think is hilarious compared to what we saw during the elections and how the Villages came out as the really pathetic, all the Trumpers. So 2,000 residents of the Villages, 20 miles south of Ocala, joined thousands. Now, see, they say thousands. I think it's in the tens of thousands. It's tens of thousands, not thousands. That just gives you a small picture. This is the mind fuck the media does. Yeah. Joined tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands. I think it's past million, like 3 million to 5 million people all over this country. Yeah. Okay, so it was against President Orange Turd and one of his top advisors, Leon. That's pretty crazy. Hands Off is a grassroots movement, coalition of hundreds of organizers and mobilizers who want the Dump administration, including Musk, who heads the Department of Government Efficiency that we had never heard of before, DOGE, to take their hands off Social Security, federal jobs, Medicaid, and more. And of course, I was talking to people yesterday about the EPA, FEMA, NOAA, and the National Weather Service. That's where I was talking to people, and I enjoyed that because a lot of people have their pet thing, and there's so many. So that was my pet thing, I suppose, in Social Security. They won't be touched unless there's fraud or something. There was fraud. All of the insurance companies and like Rick Scott's, I think he was United. Was it United Healthcare? Mm-hmm. Senator Rick Scott. Huge asshole. People vote for him. And his company was, he's a criminal. Millions of dollars. So the Villages is in Central Florida. It's a Republican stronghold, making it notable that demonstrations are taking place there against the GOP president, who has deep ties to Florida. Yeah, Mar-a-Lago. Investments, political allies. The Villages is primarily represented by Republican Representative Daniel Webster. What to know? Well, it's a predominantly white retirement community for residents 55 and older that spans 3 Central Florida counties, Lake Sumter and Marion. All 3 counties voted comfortably for Trump in 2024, Marion at 65%, Lake at 62%, and Sumter at 68%. So the other percent is the silent majority, right? A spokesperson for Hands Off estimated that approximately 2,000 people in the Villages participated. See, I find this hilarious because of all the golf carts and the goddamn MAGA hats that were always filmed at the Villages. Democratic congressional candidate Barbie Hardin Hall, who is running to represent Florida's 11th congressional district, which includes the Villages, posted a video of protests, writing that more than 1,500 came out today with clips showing dozens of residents in golf carts lined up with signs protesting the president and Musk. So I'm wondering, what are these people thinking? Is it Social Security? Is it the Department of Ed? I mean, they know that. I don't know if the Villages, if you own each place and you pay property taxes, or if you have to pay to the homeowners association and they pay all the big property. I don't know how Florida works. I know they don't have an income tax. But without federal money, Florida schools are pretty crappy anyway. So without federal money, Are these people worried that they're going to have a lot higher taxes to make up the deficit? Or are they just going to let the public schools go to shit? It's all going to be private schools. And then the useless eater workers that will be in the factories that are coming back to the United States will be shoved off to go to work from public schools that won't have any money. It's pretty awful what's happening. You would have to agree. More than 1,200 hands-off demonstrations across 50 states were planned for Saturday, and some taking place in Europe. And it's organized by advocacy groups, civil rights groups, labor unions, and various election and democracy activists, among others, which is, there's nothing wrong with being a democracy advocate, even though the United States has pretty much been an oligarchy for 20 years, or at least since Citizens United really made the door go wide open on that. And these advocacy groups, of course, the right wing is screaming about buses. Now, Laura Loomer, who is disgusting, not a journalist, in my opinion, she went on a rag saying, oh, they're dropping buses off, and because there were like 6 kids with kafifas on, that everybody was a paid protester, you know? I'd like to know who's paying millions of people. Certainly nobody paid me. I mean, nobody's ever paid me for a protest. And oh my God, excuse me, my nose itchy. Of course, when you're live, you're not supposed to have an itchy nose. So that was my story about the villages, which I had to do because I think it's hilarious. And I didn't bring up any videos of them, but I think you all have seen them online somewhere along the line. So I want to go into this and talk about the post I had put up because I was so mad that left media, zero, nothing. There was really nothing on all this. And I guess it's all coming out this morning. But this guy, absolutely proud of you all. This was last night, I believe. 3.5 million protesters counted today. That's nearly 1% of the U.S. population. Photos are flooding social media everywhere, still waiting on more numbers to come in. What do you think? I don't have a clue how Fox is covering this. I don't know. I haven't looked, but I want to go into this comment, okay? This was Steve. I asked this with utmost sincerity. What was the objective? I may be missing it, but it seems people walking around with signs and no clear purpose beyond signaling. No. You see, that was the whole thing. It wasn't signaling to like-minded others. It was insane that in where I live, people were honking in support where there was no one that didn't. There was nothing ignorant. Not one asshole, the 2 hours I was there, drove by with a negative anything. Nothing. That's unheard of where we are. And it was a busy park and busy intersection. So Steve asked that, and the utmost sincerity was what I have been explaining through this show, is that it was a chance for the silent majority to come out. And that is a cadre of American people. And they are older. The older silent majority came out. They understand what's wrong because they've lived through decades of experience watching all this stuff. And some people actually in the MAGA world are waking up, and if they're not, they are going to have it's not going to be a smooth landing for them unless we continue to do this. Do I have hopes? That's a difficult one. I just enjoy the process. I like being involved in something and then being able to put my spin on it when I talk to people about the EPA, the FML, FEMA, and National Weather Service and the NOAA. I mean, these are my passionate issues, and a lot of people don't talk about how horrible that is. So I answered Steve's question. And then my girlfriend, actually, Luann, from around here, many people are worried about their rights being trampled on, people deported without due process. If they can do it with green cards who are in this country legally, they can do it to anyone. Hence, the color palette of a lot of the protests. Many are worried about social safety net issues. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid programs for the disabled. I suggest you follow some progressive news feeds like Midas Touch, Brian Tyler, Legal AF, Justice Matters, Our Rights Are Being Trampled, and Our Country is in Free Fall. What I'm going to say to that is you have to look at a lot more than just the same people, because you can literally get propagandized yourself. I mean, I'm not putting my friend down, but we have to have critical thinking skills really employed here. You know, all of these tactics work on a lot of people, but the silent majority waking up doesn't mean we're being propagandized or brainwashed totally, but we always have to keep check. And you always have to know what your although we can't, how can we call these people the other side? The MAGA people are just don't understand. Just like the guy that was at the thing yesterday with his American flag, the one counter protester screaming about immigration, and lives in a tiny little southern tier Western New York town with maybe 10 immigrants. I mean, I'm serious. You know, it's what you see on TV. It's what they see, right? Okay. So, and then there was another whole long one, which I don't know if I want to get into, but he said, I personally believe that in this country, we have forgotten how to fight. Well, okay. So sometimes I think just walking in the streets is all it takes. Got to get attention. There's a lot of things, but it's the beginning of something. People don't like what's happening. Is there too much power? Can we make a difference? After all of the climate protests I've been to over all the years. Oh, that's me and my kitties. I don't know why I have this up. Oh, I have a birthday fundraiser. We'll go over this later. We don't need, that's one of the ones there I put to sleep, actually. Okay. And I don't know why I have this open either. Oh, I don't want to show this. Okay. Yeah. It was just a friend of mine who has he's convinced that a lot of what's happening are distractions and that it's really a Putin connection, because I don't like to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but a lot of this stuff has a connection to Russia. They have no tariffs, but I'm not going to read that to you because it's a lot. What was the chat forum I just had up? Chat forum. That was me. This was, this was my, if it's this, Dale, where are you, Dale? What was the chat forum? Okay, it was my environmental coffee house posts. So it's on my YouTube, if that's what you're looking for. Okay. Now I want to move on a little bit, because we've covered this. So you've got my thoughts about everything that's happened. Oh, I have so much crap on my desktop. Everything that's happened. And we're going to move on a little bit. Okay. Let me read Scott's. Scott, I had your post. Hi, Scott. My issue with the marches is that they get co-opted. Here, let me read this. Co-opted by the Democratic Party, which is almost as corrupt as the Republicans. Yes. Thank you, Citizens United. Yeah, thank you, Citizens United. You know what? I did have your Facebook. You had a really good post, Scott. Damn. Okay. Well, here we go. We're going to move on. We're moving on to climate because we know everybody's out there, hands off. The silent majority is waking up politically because it's taking Americans the fear of losing something. And I understand it. I have the fear of losing something, but I'm post-doom, no gloom. Post-doom, I understand that we're going to lose a whole lot more. I called the show Democracy Dies in Silence, but so does the planet. And I have been to a lot of climate marches, and yet we're just going on and on. Climate dad. This is not normal. Our society is fueled by escalating cognitive dissonance, accelerating us to societal, environmental, and psychological collapse. We devote our lives to addressing this, or watch helplessly as we lose everything. Well, how do we take that movement of the silent majority that's happening against MAGA in the United States to try to wake people up to understand that this is happening? Are we able to do it? Well, that's why I take the opportunity to talk about those agencies in reference to the climate crisis. I'm just one little tiny voice, but around here, I guess people know my little tiny voice. So human civilization was in the safe climate zone, but guess what? Here we go. It's going up and up and up and up. Accept it. I don't think anything that happens will change it. Maybe Climate Dad does. But I think that we watch helplessly as we lose everything. What is happening in the United States right now is we've had a rash of storms that are just decimating between tornadoes and floods, and the amount of tornadoes is unprecedented. I was looking at Volcaholic on X. She was documenting floods and, just horrible things happening in this country. There's a flood in was it Thailand where the elephant preserve is? The pictures were just, I couldn't stand it. The dead elephants and all. I couldn't stand it. But if you don't have it right in your face, sometimes you just don't feel it, or you don't realize how devastating the world is. How devastating it is, period. And here's our friend Zach Labe. Changes in temperature around our planet over the past 4 decades. In the month of April, the warming trend is the largest over land regions, which has harsh consequences for ecosystems during the transition seasons. So our planet is warming. And Zach, who now lost his job, I believe, after getting a PhD in climate science, who reports beautiful, magnificent color graphics that people can understand, that you can use to train people that this is happening, is not working. I don't think at the moment. Our planet is warming. 1985 to 94. 95 to 2004, 2005 to 2014, and then look to the right on the bottom, 215 to 224. Now, many of the people at the hands-off yesterday that I went to understand this. Some were for professors from Alfred or people that were associated with the university, but the rank and file, silent majority, don't. And if they do, it's very cursory information, and now it's out of sight, out of mind. And this administration is just undermining everything. And we know this already. How many times can we talk about it? But it's just, it is a bit of an education, seizing the opportunity to educate the rank and file, the silent majority. It's not just Social Security, it's your planet. And it's not that I even tell them I'm advocating for everything to become solar and everything to become wind and all. Those things are happening naturally anyway. That's commerce, that's capitalism, but it's all going to become more expensive. So everything's going to be stalled in its track anyway with these tariffs. Everything is. What's going to happen when these tornadoes now, the aftermath, when FEMA is being cut, although FEMA has a designation now for, it might have been Arkansas, but there's many states involved now. But what is going to happen? And then with these tariffs, will we be harvesting lumber from the United States, from all the federal national parks? Will we be doing that? Because we sure as hell aren't going to be able to afford people's houses being rebuilt with Canadian lumber when the tariffs are going to be ridiculous. The reciprocal tariff idea is not economically sound from what I've looked at and economists discussing it. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So there's Zach telling us the planet's warming, which is like nothing that everybody here understands, right? Yeah. But Zach is one of our favorites. And it is so sad. Well, his views and thoughts are on his own. He's now in New Jersey. Let's go to his website really quickly. Zach is a climate scientist looking to find the signal in all the noise. I use data-driven methods to untangle climate change patterns from natural variability, providing clear insights into climate risks. I also spend a lot of time thinking about how to make science more engaging, going through storytelling and visualization. Love him. Love him. I don't know if he has things about what's happening now. But you can go. I will put this in the show notes, okay? Zachary Labe, one of the best, who we really appreciate. Now, we're going to move over a little bit because of this story, which is a tough story. Let me see if I have this picture. I want to show you the picture, but I don't know if I have it in this one. I don't have it in this screen. We're going to look at the guy. I don't know if you guys heard the whole story of what happened on Long Island to the guy that had 300 rescue cats, and he lived a very modest life to give everything to his rescue cats. And I'm a rescuer. I just buried 2 in my yard the other day. I had to. They got buried. So Chris Arsenault dedicated his life to saving the forgotten and abandoned. After the tragic loss of his 24-year-old son in a motorcycle accident, Chris found himself lost in grief. One day he came across a colony of 30 sickly cats near train tracks in Long Island. Instinctively, he took them in, nursing each one back to health. In their fragile lives, he found a sense of purpose and healing. That day changed everything. Chris turned his home into Happy Cat Sanctuary, creating a safe haven for I thought I was going to sneeze. For countless stray and abandoned cats. Over the years, he built a world where these overlooked souls could feel loved and safe, transforming his entire property into a sanctuary. He kept only a small bedroom for himself, while the rest became a cozy paradise for his feline family, complete with heated perches and warm blankets. To Chris, each cat was more than just an animal. They were companions who, like him, had faced hardship and needed a place to belong. Every day he cooked them roast chicken, made sure they were healthy, and gave them the warmth they deserved. After my son died, these cats gave me something to do, he once said. But on a quiet morning, tragedy struck. A fire engulfed the sanctuary. Hearing the commotion, Chris ran outside but immediately rushed back in when he realized his beloved cats were still inside. He kept rushing back and forth until he didn't come out. More than 100 cats perished with him. Now, we don't know this for sure. Authorities suspect arson. Some neighbors had complained about the sanctuary, but Chris never let criticism stop him from doing what he believed was right. And if that happened in Long Island, holy shit, the silent majority will come out. He took in the cats no one else wanted. Me too. Offering them comfort and care despite challenges. That's a pretty sad one. Whoops. That's a pretty sad one. So I just wanted to give a few minutes to that. Okay? I felt that was important. And we have a moment of silence for Chris. I don't know if I have that picture of him. Oh, well, I have it here. You see the one on the side? Let me see if I can make this bigger. I'm going to make it bigger. Hang on. No, hang on. Oh, shit. I don't know if I can make it bigger, but nope, I can't make it bigger. Damn it. Well, since it's Sunday and you guys are hanging with me, what's the hell's the difference but trying to upload it? Okay, I'm going to upload it. Upload it. so I can show it to you. Yeah. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Man, look, somebody drew that in pencil. That's a heartbreaker. It's a heartbreaker. But there's a lot of charities going on now down there. I think they actually literally raised $500,000 for these animals. Unreal, huh? Yeah. So next we're going to move on. We're going to move on to this. A lot of topics that were interesting to me today. So we are going to, wait, really quick. Here's one of my favorite signs, actually from one of the women I know that brought it. The real axis of evil. And they're going back in time with the axis of evil that Bush described, right? Herr von Trump, Mussolini, and Vlad Putin. Now, the woman that had this sign and her husband, they've got to be in their 70s. But they are the silent majority. And they've lived through a lot of experience. So you have to give them credit because you have to have respect for the elders. And that is something I am in this community. I'm the elder. I am the elder. See, there's the silent majority in the 1960s. And we are that. This is us in the United States. And the only way that we can do this is not roll over and say, well, it's going to happen and that's it. No, it's to keep showing up. Regardless of your post-doom status, regardless of the big picture. Right now, in this time in history, it's important for the silent majority to show up. What I think. Yeah. All right, so I showed you that one. And yeah, let's just go back a little bit. So what do you think the protesters, want Harris Faulkner of Fox News, asked the president, Orange Turd, what do you think they need right now from you? And here was his answer. Verbatim, quote, protesters for different reasons. I can't even do him. You're protesting also because, they just didn't know. I watched. I watched very closely. Why aren't you here? They really weren't able to say, but they were there for a reason, perhaps. But a lot of them really were there because they're following the crowd. A lot of them were there because what we witnessed was a terrible thing. What we saw was a terrible thing, and we've seen it over the years. We haven't, This one was one horrible example, but you've seen other terrible examples. You know that better than anybody who would know it, and I know it. I've seen it too. I've seen it before I was president. I've seen it. I think it's a shame. I think it's a disgrace, and it's got to stop. We are in the end times, my friends. We are in such a kakistocracy of clueless fucking morons like this one. Say hello to my personal advisor for national security, Laura Loomer, the QAnon journalist who had a meeting in the White House and all kinds of national security shit happened. So now we are going to move on to this one that I want to show you. Abso-friggin-lutely. But not the video. The article. The article on Trump fires a 4-star general heading the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command. Yes, that's a heck of a story, huh? We are not safe in the United States. Yeah, Karen, idiocracy. We're not safe in the United States. There is no safety anywhere, really. Even though the silent majority is coming out. Remember what I told you about in the beginning, who's not coming out. President Donald Trump has abruptly fired the director of National Security Agency, according to U.S. officials and members of the U.S. But they won't tell us why. Senior military leaders were informed Thursday of the firing of Air Force General Tim Howe, who also oversaw the Pentagon Cyber Command. So that's why we're not safe. Because, well, some theories say it's going to be April 20th that there's going to be a cyber attack. And it's just, we're leaving the doors open in the United States. That's one way to look at it. They received no advance notice about the decision to remove a 4-star general, Laura Loomer. This is how sick we are. With a 33-year career in intelligence and cyber. 33! Intelligence and cyber operations. Ugh. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's unclear who's now in charge of NSA and Cyber Command. Isn't Elon Musk in charge of everything? Everything. All right, so here. Now, of course, this is X, so you take everything with a grain of salt. I don't know who this guy is really, but Don Winslow, who I do respect, reposted it. Don Winslow is a very good journalist. I've had time to process the bizarre Laura Loomer story, and I think there is a 50% likelihood that she was a diversion to put everyone off the scent. The information that got Trump to wipe out the IC was likely from the Kremlin visitor earlier this week, who was Kirill Dmitriev. So don't call me Russiagate. I mean, these things, there's real shit happening. My guess is Putin seeded intel that he knew NSA would intercept, but would be in the process of addressing. But because they didn't just run over to Trump, the Russians could make it appear they were being disloyal. It was likely questionable treasure, but related to something close to the orange turd, something sexual or even worse, his golf game. So I don't know, but I like Don Winslow. And he's not a bad guy. He's pretty, I'd say centrist left. But he's talking and posting things that I thought were interesting. Vietnam, now get this. I know we are a consumerist society. I know that actually the orange turd could be the best thing for the planet, ultimately, if everything crashes. But I don't think it's going to happen like that. Because everything might crash here, but industrialization is going full speed ahead in other countries where it has been, like China. Russia wants territory. They want to expand in their holdings, so to speak, as we well know. Vietnam pays $10 billion per year to the U.S. Who gives a shit if they tariff themselves 10% or 0%? We buy $150 billion per year from Vietnam, and we just self-taxed ourselves 50% on all of that for no reason at all. We deserve what's coming for us. Economically illiterate society electing economically illiterate leaders to make economically illiterate decisions. So that's one way of looking at it, what's happening. It just is. And that's why the silent majority is out, because they're seeing all this and they're reacting. Would the silent majority come and react to the climate crisis like this? Probably not. They haven't. Oh my goodness. So here we are. I mean, this is the best we can get. We're not going to electrify. We're still going to use gas and oil, but we can make our lives better. And I want to look at your comments and see if I have anything else that I plan to show. Oh, I do. Just as we were talking about this, I forgot I had a couple more things. Hang on. I'm going to get it.
I think I know more about the environment than most people.
I think this is really good.
The new USA administration has started censoring and removing climate change information, data, and funding. From removing pages on government websites to giving certain individuals access to organizations' systems, we will cover what has happened in less than a month. Let's start with the Department of State website page. Firstly, the page on the climate crisis has been removed. This is what the URL used to show before, a page full of information. Also, many articles and pages in relation to climate change and environmental issues have been removed on the website. Trump and the new
Wow.
administration has also heavily targeted the Environmental Protection Agency. The Environmental Justice Screen was removed, which was a useful online mapping tool that combined environmental and demographic data to identify areas with disproportionate exposure to environmental impacts. If you do want to use it, it has fortunately been saved by public environmental data partners.
Oh, good.
Furthermore, many EPA employees working on environmental justice issues were placed on leave. The EPA is also set to receive less funding, and certain individuals who have worked as lobbyists for the oil and chemical industries have been given certain roles. Another important organization that has been targeted and will be further targeted is the NOAA, or National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
I think he's
which
doing a
Project
splendid
2025
job on
is
this
talked
video.
about as an organization to dismantle, essentially, as it shows evidence of climate change. Firstly, researchers' ability to collaborate internationally has been limited. According to The Wired, a guy called Nikhil Rajpal, who seems to be working under Doge, a guy with no expertise in anything related to the NOAA, was granted access to the organization's system after NOAA officials were ordered to. NOAA is an important institution globally as it also provides public access data. Other examples of censorship include removing educational information on climate change. For example, the Climate Literacy Guide, which was previously available on climate.gov, is now no longer available there. When you try the URL, it's also gone. If you want to access the guide, you can find it in the description. Other studies have been removed, such as the Solar Futures Study on the Department of Energy website. A good tool to find the saved pages is the Wayback Machine. This is another example of removed information. Censorship of educational information can also be seen at the state level in Ohio. There previously was a bill to make universities neutral on climate change called Bill 83, which failed to pass, but now there is the House Bill 6, which has the same section as the previous bill, which is trying to be passed. They were essentially trying to frame climate change science and education as a controversial belief. You can also find that they changed their wording from climate change to climate policies, perhaps to seem a little more reasonable. The following example isn't about information, but I still wanted to show it to you. Iowa has introduced, which does not mean pass, a bill to remove the prior purpose of the state to reduce dependency on fossil fuels. Finally, another way of censorship can be seen at the Department of Transportation, where research grants could be refused if you use the following words. On the topic of the Department of Transportation, the administration are wanting to rescind things linked with climate change activism and rules requiring state transportation departments to measure and establish declining target CO2 emissions on federal highways. Not only that, the DOT and other departments are most probably going to remove the social cost of carbon or decrease it by a lot, which is what happened last time Trump was in power. You can watch this video if you want to learn more about this. So in conclusion, in less than a month, we can already see some climate censorship by the new administration. Luckily, there is some pushback legally and also by communities who managed to save this data. I cannot stress the importance of having access to public data and information, which Trump and other people around the world try to suppress.
They're eating the dogs.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to learn more about climate change and energy, don't forget to subscribe.
I liked it. I liked it. So I liked it. And I think that, he said it very well. I'll have to get the link to that too. They're a small channel and he said it very well. And I love that the young people are talking about everything. It's great. It really makes me feel like I can smile a little bit, even though I know that the younger you are, the future is a much more difficult outlook. And a lot of young people are understanding that, but they're still out there. They're still out there. I wish we would have as much passion for saving forests and saving trees and saving things, the same amount of passion for Palestine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not minimizing or lessening the issue over in the Middle East. I just wish we had that kind of passion for our own forests and our lands and, but people don't. Wars are terrible and they trigger, especially when they are fought online. Absolutely. I had one more that I clipped, but I don't remember.
On
what this
Inauguration
one
Day.
was. We'll watch it. What the hell? I clipped them. We're going to watch them. Yes, because that was a good way to kind of wrap the show up, showing that Project 2025 is absolutely here and happening. And that is why it's so important for the silent majority to get out. Even if we have 20 or 30 years, who knows Why do we have to go down like this? We don't. We really don't. And then I have one last one to really show that, well, maybe this shows how fucked we are. One more, and then we'll do questions and comments. Oh my God.
I hope that the United States and Europe
It almost looks like
can establish a very
AI.
close partnership. We obviously are, there's an alliance already, but I'm hopeful that there can be a very close relationship with America and Europe. And I'm hopeful, for example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. And that would be that's what I hope occurs.
Starlink, Tesla, ci sono
The mass immigration is insane, and will lead to the destruction of any country that allows unfettered mass immigration. That country will simply cease to exist. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, a numbers situation.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I love Italy.
Flushing him. All right. We flushed him. There was the environmental coffee house flush of the day, guys. All right, now it is time. Don't forget to like my show and help me. You know, everything helps. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to. We all have difficult lives now. Mine is no different. Okay. No felon, but when you die, you will cease to exist, though. Yeah, right. All life has the right to move away from a place which no longer sustains life. Yeah, absolutely. Let me do the super chats too. I have to thank my super chats. Nadia, super chat, $10. Thank you, Nadia. Horn's counter-revolution of 1776 and Holton's forced founders equal begin bad. Richardson's how the South won the Civil War stayed bad. You know, she's right. We've never, when is MAGA? How the South stayed bad. Bevan's Jakarta method and Bloom's killing hope equals today. Lot in that. And she goes from 1776 all the way up today. So I don't know. When do we make America great? When do we make America great? Thank you. The hippocalic, you can't see it, but it was a sticker. It was cute. Thank you so much. These things are extremely appreciated. Okay. Charlottesville had fine people on both sides. His fucking brain is mush. Yeah, it is. It. I have to say. And Sustainable Human has a new video out. Okay, cool. Cool. I'll look for it and see if I can link it. Raza from the UK. Thanks for being with us. I like seeing you on Sundays. 2030 will coincide with Trump's exit. We don't know about that. Hey, Jim McHenry, you're still the best. Don't forget Jim's amazing Facebook page, literally tracking our doom. I mean, there's no way else to say it. Tracking the climate crisis and now our geopolitical mess of everything because the United States is not safe. Watch out. Watch out. April 20th. I can imagine right-wing nuts screaming at liberals as rising seas take their homes. Yeah, there's a vision. There's a good vision. Hi, Steph. Note that sleeping helps the environment more than a lot of busy stuff most people do. I'm cool with sleeping. Yeah, Steph, you know what? Steph gets an applause on that one. Yeah, I'm cool with sleeping too. I don't do enough of it. All right, guys. So Yeah, Billy Big Balls brr, out there making the people proud. God damn right. They are. They're making us proud. Don't forget, this is happening here in Buffalo. It's coming up. We are going to go, and I am talking about it. April 26th from Peace Bridge to Prescott. Raise your Canadian flags. Oh, I will be at that one because I am in solidarity. Living on the border as long as I did, I'm in solidarity with Buffalo and Canada, and we are Canadian and American. We love each other. That's a good one. We love each other. And so that is somewhere my ass will be. And wow. Oh my. Thank you. Thank you. Kim, you're wonderful, Kim. Kim is amazing. Climate Crisis Club. That's where I met you. And amazing. Thank you. This helps. I just had to put 2 cats to sleep. I had quite a vet bill myself. And it's sad because I am one of those silent Americans that is petrified of income problems. I have a lot of things here. I probably live beyond my means, like everybody, but I'm trying not to. But anyway, yeah. All right. Well, we can meet there. Jackie, we can meet there. Of course, I'm going to support Canada. I love Canada. Shout out to True North Eager Beaver. I watch in the morning. Sandy Lovis, Left of the Box. 2 really wonderful Canadian podcasters. Alex, not so silent. We're not going to be silent. Oh, no, this is going to be happening all summer. Who knows? I have to plant my garden somehow. Everything goddamn hurts. But I have to plant the garden. Holy crap. Thank you. This is all wonderful. It's really helping. It will help when it comes anyway, because it's expensive to put cats down, even though I buried them myself in the backyard. It was a lot more. Well, my vet gives me a deal, but it's expensive. So thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. And yes, we are working on Sandy Lovis being my guest. Amazing artist, Left of the Box from Canada, journalism. Her art, I bought her book, which I don't have the picture on my, I'll show you the book maybe the next show. I will say it really quickly. I'm not happy about, I don't know if I want to do every Tuesday night anymore. I might do twice a month, just last week in Collapse. I think twice a month would be great. And then Wednesdays left past 10, which I'm always on. Matt, the letter hack, runs it. I love my interviews. Friday night is coming up with Jennifer Hines. We are doing our birthday show because we're all another year older in April together, Jennifer and I. So we will be doing, and most likely we're going to do an Arctic update, which will be really great to be with my Jennifer again. And the Friday after that, I've got Paul Beckwith joining me. So that's going to be a hell of a conversation. I'm booking up to have these conversations. So that's why I think every other Tuesday night is okay. If I can manage. There's a lot here. Okay. So now that I told you guys what's happening, your birthday's the 18th. Okay. Make sure you're in the chat, or I'll send you a link you can join after we finish our presentation. I don't know. I'll ask Jennifer. We just have a girls' night of birthdays. All right, everybody, I'm going to say goodbye. You've all been with me for long enough. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover the protests and we used to call them demonstrations. They used to be called demonstrations, but we are now the silent majority protesting the Orange Turd Project 2025. It's not just Musk. He was brought in because he bought his way in. Project 2025 was there first. Silent majorities, don't stay silent. Whatever your heart is, bring it to something. Get on the streets, and we'll have your back if you can't, because of our fascist fuckers in ICE and all that other stuff going on. Solidarity with Canada. I love you guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all that horse shit. Yay! Thank you, moderators.